Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 2 of Steel Nation.
Here we go, Steelers, here we go. Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Steel Nation. I'm your host, Brian, and we're back. It's only been, 9 months since my last upload? Less of that since my last live stream, but, the draft really doesn't count. And I haven't uploaded since I talked about the Bills beating us in the playoffs. So I guess you can call this Season 2. And if you notice, we're in kind of a different area. And that's because for these videos, it's a lot easier to just set up a phone outside in my little party room area with a microphone and just go from there. So that's how we're going to be doing stuff today. And, I kind of like it, so maybe we'll use this a little bit more going forward in the season. However, today I have a couple things for you. First off, we're going to be talking about record predictions. And not only do I want to discuss my record prediction for this year for the Steelers, but I want to go back through my record prediction from last year and see just how well I stacked up. So basically, this is going to be a how badly did I fail video. Alright, so after looking at my record prediction from last year and overlaying it with the wins and losses from last season, let's just take a look at what I said. So week 1 versus the 49ers, I said we were going to win a close game. Nope. That was a loss, for obvious reasons. So that was one I got wrong. Week 2 against the Browns, I said we'd win, and we won. Week 3 versus the Raiders, I said we'd win, we won. Week 4 against the Texans, I said we'd win in a landslide. The exact opposite happened. So that's the second time I was wrong. Then, we got a win against the Ravens, and I said we'd get a win against the Ravens, so we're good. Then was our bye week, and, I made an NSYNC reference. If only I knew how relevant that would be in 2024. Then we got a win against the Rams, which I predicted. We got a loss against the Jaguars, which I also predicted. Another win against the Titans, again predicted. We got a win against the Packers that I predicted. Then a loss against the Browns that I also predicted. I'm doing pretty good here. Then we hit the Bengals, which I said we lose to, and we won. I still got that wrong, though. So that's 3. Then the Cardinals, I said we'd win, and we lost. I said we'd beat the Patriots, and we lost. And I said we'd beat the Colts, and we lost. So there's 6 wrong right there already. However, this ends on a somewhat happy note. We beat the Bengals, and I said we would. We beat the Seahawks, and I said we would. And we beat the Ravens, which I said we'd lose. So in total, I made 7 mistakes, which means if I do my math correctly, I got 9 predictions correct. 9 and 7? Yeah, no, that's 16. I got 10 predictions correct. Ooh, that's even better. Which means that I am over 500 on my predictions from last season, so I did fairly good. And for this being my first year ever doing predictions, I think we did fairly decently. Now, with that all out of the way, let's jump into this year's record prediction, which was so much more difficult because we have such a harder schedule this year, and I don't know what to think of our new team. Oop. Ben kind of fell over. Let's make sure he's in frame. So this is going to be kind of a crapshoot, but here we go. So week 1, we're going to be in Atlanta, facing off against the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins. Now this team going into this year, I didn't think would be all that good. But over the offseason, they made some really big additions, of course, bringing in Kirk Cousins. But they've also upgraded several key positions with several really good players. And so I think going off against our somewhat fresh and young offense with George Pickens and more than likely Russell Wilson is going to be very difficult for us week 1. And I could totally see Atlanta just destroying us. So Atlanta Falcons, I think, are going to win that game. Then we go into week 2 at Denver. I think Russ has something to prove. And I think he goes into Denver with some form of like chip on his shoulder. That one, I think, is a fairly easy victory over the Bo Nix led Denver Broncos. Next up, we're going to be at home versus the Los Angeles Chargers. And this is another one I think we're going to win. Not because I think the Chargers are going to be bad, but I think that like this early in the season, it's a fairly new team with a new head coach. I think they're still going to be figuring themselves out. I think the Chargers are going to be a very good team here within the next couple of years. However, within this season, I think week 3 they're going to be a fairly trivial team. However, there's a good chance that we struggle with them, and I could see this one going either way. So I have us winning that one. Then we're going to be at the Indianapolis Colts, and if they have Anthony Richardson back, I think that's an easy loss for us. I think they beat us. They looked really good last year, and they're just going to keep improving year after year, especially with Anthony Richardson. So I think the Colts win that. Then we have our first primetime game of the season at home versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, as a Steelers fan, I know one of the biggest things about being a Steelers fan is knowing that we win the games we're not supposed to win, and we lose the games that we're not supposed to lose. And this is one of those games that, as the Steelers, we should not win. And I don't think we will. I think we're going to lose in primetime to the Dallas Cowboys. However, there's another game later on in the season that has a very, very similar issue. It's a game we should not ever win. It was between this game and that game, and honestly, I'd rather win that game. So when we get there, I'll let you guys know. But the Dallas Cowboys, I think, beat us under the lights, and that's going to be a loss. Las Vegas, we're going to be in Las Vegas against the Raiders. I think that's going to be a win. The Raiders, they're rebuilding. Sure, like they could be really good this year. I said the same thing about the Texans last year. I said they were going to be an easy team, and they whooped our butts. But I think the Raiders are going to be a decently easy team for us to win. And by this point in the season, we're going to have a very good grasp on our offense. I'm fairly certain like we're going to get better and better as the season progresses. Whether or not it's Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, doesn't really matter. I think we beat the Raiders in Las Vegas, no problem. Then the New York Jets. Now, I think I changed this a little bit ago. But I think we lose to the New York Jets. And I think that's another primetime game. I think these next two are primetimes. I think the Aaron Rodgers-led Jets come into Heinz Field and just put a smackdown on us. Put an old school quarterback smackdown on us Steelers, and I don't really think there's much debate there. Sure, they're not the greatest team, but with Aaron Rodgers and some of the acquisitions they've made, I think they're going to be a really good team, and they're going to be a very dangerous opponent. This next team, however, not so much, and that's when we return to Heinz Field to face off against the New York Giants, in which I think we blow them out of the water. I think this one's also under the lights, so we're going to get our revenge. But yeah, the New York Giants, I think that's an easy win. Going into our bye week, week 9, I think we might see some things just happen here. Week 8's also the trade deadline, and I can see if nothing happens with the Brandon Ayuk situation before the trade deadline, I could see us maybe trading for Brandon Ayuk or for another wide receiver. Come week 8, come the trade deadline, and then the bye week, some practice, resting up, make sure everybody's nice and healthy. Because then we come out, and the Washington Commanders are our next team, which is another team I think we can easily beat. But, let's not kid ourselves. And then, my friends, we enter the gauntlet. If you thought last season had a crazy schedule, like gauntlet at the second half of the season, you haven't seen nothing yet. Because let's just talk about this schedule. Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati. All of our remaining games are either against division opponents, the Philadelphia Eagles, or the Kansas City Chiefs. this is going to be ridiculous. So obviously, we started out with 3 losses in a row, one coming at home against the Ravens, one coming in Cleveland, and one coming in Cincinnati. Now, these losses are just, they got to happen. You know, I predict us splitting the division, so there's got to be a loss for each of those teams, which means, as you can tell, we're going to beat all 3 of those teams again later. I always operate on the idea of splitting the division, especially in the AFC North. It's more than likely going to happen. But then we go and we get a win at home versus Cleveland as redemption for our loss that we took in Cleveland. And then we go to the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think we win there. See, we're late enough in the season. I think we've pretty much got whatever lock and key we're going to get with this team underway. And I think we can put a smackdown on Philadelphia. But that's, one of those teams that could beat us. They probably should. Then we're going to go to Baltimore, and we're going to get that win over the Ravens. Now, the thing with the Ravens is I was contemplating us getting the win at home versus in Baltimore, but I think that it's much more Steelers to lose at home and win in Baltimore. So that's probably how it's going to happen. But then, I talked about this when I talked about the Cowboys. There's always that one team that we have no business beating that we beat. And I think Christmas Day, live on stream, we're going to be taking the Kansas City Chiefs to town. And I think it's going to be a Christmas miracle. I think we're going to come out on top of that one. Patrick Mahomes ain't going to know what hit him. Travis Kelce is going to get completely put down by Patrick Queen and that Steelers defense. I think it's going to happen. TJ Watt's going to have the best game of his career. And Christmas will be perfect. And then following that, last game of the season, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think we are going to beat them. I kind of already spoiled that because we lost to them earlier on in the season. But I think we come out of the gauntlet with 3 losses and 4 wins. 5 wins, sorry. 5 wins, meaning it's 6 wins in the second part of the season, bringing our final record prediction to 11-6. Now, is that much more than last year? No. That's one more game than last year. But honestly, that's still a very good improvement, especially with the schedule that we've got. Now, that's still, if we're looking at the record prediction that I have for the rest of the division, puts us in 3rd place, 1 game ahead of the Cleveland Browns, who have a 10-7 record, and 1 game behind the Ravens with 12-5. However, I feel like the AFC North this year is going to go to the Cincinnati Bengals, as long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy, with a record of 13-4. With all that being said, I thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this little record prediction, I would recommend you leave a like. And I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you guys think about my record, and give me you guys' records as well. Are you less lenient on the Steelers? Are you more lenient on the Steelers? You see, I am extremely optimistic about this season. I'm cautious, yes, but I'm very optimistic. I think that with Russell Wilson and with Justin Fields under center, I think we can do very well. And I think we have the future in our QB room finally. You see, last year we had to deal with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky. And while Mason Rudolph was fairly good, and I wish he was still around, I think it was a very, very good idea to upgrade at every step of the way when it comes to the QBs. And I think that's what we did. And so I think we're going to do fairly well. And as you can see, I'm already rocking some of that dangerous merch. I love that. Anyway, I want you guys to let me know what you guys' record prediction is in the comments below. And tell me your record prediction about your favorite team. Are you a Bengals fan? Are you a Browns fan? Maybe you're a Titans fan. Who knows? Whoever you enjoy, please let me know in the comments. I would love to read it. That's all I got for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, go Steelers.
Here we go, Steelers. Pittsburgh's going to